I got my cup of green tea. I am all ready. Hey troops, welcome to another commentary. Today, I am going to look at a video done by a guy named Pastor Vlad Savchuk. I hope I said your last name right. Savchuk, is that it? S-A-V-C. I'm just going to call you Pastor Vlad because I don't want to say your name wrong. But Vlad's a cool... I like the name Vlad. It's like, if you're like me and you like monster movies, vampires and stuff, Vlad's like Dracula's name. So that's like a cool name, Vlad. I love monster movies. Like, tattoo. Like, look. Dracula right there. Bela Lugosi. Can you see him? Okay. So, all right, enough Dracula Vlad talk. Pastor Vlad, he did a video about a year ago called Is Veganism Demonic or Is It Closer to God's Original Design? I think you guys at home watching know. I think it's God's original design, but Vlad here feels a little bit differently, or at least he shows that later on. Now, I'm going to do a commentary on his video. Usually when I do videos, I play the whole thing because I don't want, like, I doubt Plaster Vlad. I doubt Pastor, I said Plaster. I doubt Pastor Vlad will ever see this. But if he does, I don't want him to come back and say, oh, you cut it up and took it out of context. Go watch his video. You'll see that I'm not taking anything out of context. I just want to remove the parts where he's talking about veganism and the health and the environment. Because, there's so many videos out there by other YouTubers that do what I do, vegan guys. And, that's just not my bag. I'm the religious guy, so he's a religious guy. I'm going to talk about the religious thing he brings up. I might... As I speed through here, I'm going to try and, I might say something, but I'm really going to try and just focus on the religious parts because that's what y'all tune into me for, I think. And I don't want to turn this into a 2-hour video. I know how long is this one he's talking? It's 30 minutes he talks. I'll turn 30 minutes into 90. So let's just hit play and let's let this roll and let it roll.
Though we do see...
Let me get to the beginning.
Is veganism demonic? Or is veganism something that actually brings you closer to God's original, pre-fall, dietary design for us? We know that Paul tells Timothy that in the last days there will be this demonic doctrine that will force us staying away from certain foods. And we also know that at the end, when Jesus comes and establishes his kingdom on this earth, that the relationship between predator and prey is going to be removed from the animal kingdom.
Oh,
now, when it comes,
I'm kind of glad he did that. Let me just kind of, I'm going to close this here. Let me kind of go over that. He already said that in the kingdom, there'll be no more predator and prey. And also in the beginning. So let me explain to you all out there listening, because you might not be Jesus-y people like Vlad and I are. So let's put it like this. We got the book of Genesis, chapter 1. Where God said it is very good. In Genesis 1, verse 29, he says plants will be your food. In Genesis 1, verse 30, he says plants will be animals' food. And then chapter 1, verse 31, think of verses like sentences. Okay. So right after he says, be fruitful, multiply, make babies, have fun, enjoy the sexual things that you get to enjoy, and enjoy the food that I gave you. The food that I gave you is plants. And the food that I gave the animals is plants. And God said it was very good. It's important that you know about the sex part too. That's going to come up later on when he talks about that other thing, when he said Doctrine of Demons. So that was God's perfect world, the Garden of Eden. There was no death in the Garden of Eden. And when there is no death, there is no cheeseburgers. He's admitting to that. Now, let's go. Sin entered the world in Genesis chapter 3. Things got totally messed up, so messed up in Genesis chapter 6 that God had to flood the whole world and reboot everything. But by the time we get to heaven, what he's going to be talking about in the kingdom, we're all in the kingdom. Again, the lion will lay down with the lamb. The lion will eat straw like the ox. There'll be no more death. It'll be like it was back here in the Garden of Eden. So there's no death, which means, again, there's no cheeseburgers. All right, well, there is no death. On the bookends of the entire Bible history, the past and the future, the bookends are where God wants it, the only time God has it the way he wants it, and it's vegan both times. So my thought is, what could possibly be demonic about trying to live in either one of those life. Look at dude. I looked like a T-Rex there for a minute. It can't be demonic to be going towards that.
To veganism, I'm going to share with you just 4 thoughts concerning that, how veganism is a diet. Also, we're going to look at the fact that it could be a disorder for some people in their veganism because of their obsessiveness.
I think I'm going to
eating
skip
healthy.
through that
That
part.
could be a disorder. And number 3 is we're going to talk about the issue of actually a demonic doctrine that is really operating behind this movement. And if you're not careful, you can fall prey to that deception. And lastly, we're just going to quickly mention, what does the Bible say about eating meat or not eating meat? Veganism,
hold
though,
on,
it's
just
not a new concept. A lot.
I'm going to skip on through a little bit of that. You can see where he's going with this. Not what I want to do. I'll be right back. Right. I think he's coming up to the first point he's trying to make.
As a diet, there's nothing wrong with abstaining from meat. The Bible doesn't tell us to eat meat, nor does the Bible prohibit us from eating meat.
The Bible does in several places prohibit us from eating certain kinds of meat. And I think that's important. I want to go over that. In the book of Leviticus, I'm going to just touch on that one briefly. I did a whole video on it, but I'll just do it here when I say that. When in Leviticus, when Moses told the people, these are the animals you can't eat, he was saying it to a people who were eating any animal at any time in any way they want. They were not going to give up their meat eating. Think of it like spoiled brats. Israel, when Moses was giving these laws, Israel was like a bunch of little kids. They not only spoiled brats, let's just say like they believed in Santa Claus. You can tell a little 4-year-old that Santa Claus cannot travel the world all in one night. He can't come down a chimney. I lived in an apartment when I was in Chicago as a 4-year-old. We didn't even have a chimney, right? You can show them all, and the little kid is still going to go, I still believe in Santa Claus. It's just the way kids are. And Israel was like that. They were very immature, and they were very much in their way. They weren't going to give up their eating meat. So God said, I just rescued you from 400 years of slavery. Remember Moses with let my people go and all that. When he got him out, God's like, okay, I can't get him to stop. Let me do this. I'm going to say, you can't eat all the animals. You can only eat these animals. And when you eat these animals, you can only eat them when they're killed at the altar. And at the altar, the blood has to be done. It has to be killed by a priest. All these permissions, if we can use that word, to eat meat was really restrictions. It was restricting the meat. I mean, they weren't making 10 sacrifices to 10 different gods, the gods of the sun, the gods of the river, the gods of the mountain, the gods of the wind. They were making sacrifices to just one God. Do you see how it was all very restrictive until later on, when we get later on throughout the book of Leviticus, or excuse me, when we get through the Bible, we get Jeremiah saying, I never wanted your sacrifices at all. It's all a big, long game. But so my first comment to him would be, God does say we can't eat some meats. And there was a reason for it. Again, if you know the whole story, you see why. Maybe that wasn't where he was going, but it just came to my mind.
We see that Daniel, for a certain point of his life, went on vegetarian diet, and he ate only vegetables and drank water, and he avoided...
Here's something I disagree with a lot of vegans with. First off, I don't think Daniel went on a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet for the purpose of going vegan. He did it because he was staying true to the Hebrew God. You see, at the time when David was taken captive, Daniel was taken captive, the Babylonians were trying to convert him into the Babylonian religion, away from the Hebrew God into the Babylonian. They tried to change his name. They tried to change all these things about him because they got him and a bunch of his buddies who were the young, healthy, strong, good-looking guys. They were trying to make them Babylonian rulers, Babylonian soldiers, Babylonian, mathematicians, whatever it may be. They were trying to take the best of the best and convert them to their religion. Daniel caught on to this, and he's like, I'll learn the language, but this is where I got to draw the line. And he said, I'm not going to eat this food. Now, the reason he wasn't eating that food for the 10 days that he's bringing up wasn't because Daniel's like, I don't want food from animal abuse. He's saying, I don't want it to be defiled. Defiled, he was trying to serve it. He didn't want to eat food that would be considered unkosher. that violated the laws of kashrut. He wasn't going to give in to the Babylonian ways by eating all the meats and stuff that the kings were eating. And they were giving him the king's food because they thought that would help him grow big and strong. So Daniel's like, check me out in 10 days. I'm going to serve my God. He didn't say it like that, but I'm trying to give you a Reader's Digest version. He didn't say it like that. He's like, check me out in 10 days. If I don't appear healthier than all the others eating just vegetables, then we'll do it your way. So the long story short, although it's too late for that, he was healthier in the long run and proved that he could do it on just vegetables by avoiding the what could have been unpermissible, unkosher foods that were available. So, but I don't think it was a vegan thing.
Consuming royal food and wine that was provided by the king, but the issue there wasn't for health reasons. The issue there was for his devotion to God reason. So it wasn't because meat was deemed bad, or because he was trying to save an environment, or he was concerned how animals were treated, or because he had health problems or he wanted to lose weight. Actually,
see, he's talking about health problems and losing weight and this kind of thing. That's not what veganism is about. And I see this running through a lot of this video that Pastor Vlad does. He just keeps connecting veganism to a dietary thing. He doesn't understand that it's an ethical lifestyle that seeks to avoid the exploitation of sentient beings. I'm going to say that a lot, I think, unfortunately. But
after 10 days of not eating meat, but eating vegetables and water, Daniel's face and the face of his friends was kind of fatter. So definitely the biblical precedent for not eating meat to lose weight is not there.
I didn't know there was a biblical precedent for losing weight was going vegan. Yeah, I know it's not there, but I didn't know there was such a thing. Did he imply that there was? But yeah, and that word fatter, if you look at it in the original language, sometimes it means fatter, sometimes it just means healthier. But I even make that joke about it in my book. Oh, plug my book time. Oh, I should grab it and hold it up. Yeah, phooey. Pretend I'm holding it up. That way my publicist doesn't get mad. Just everybody says, oh, I saw your books. So at least Vlad and I are kind of on the same page here for a little bit.
Though we do see there's nothing wrong with not eating meat, if that is your choice. In fact, there's a difference between vegetarianism and veganism.
Oh, good.
Vegetarianism is a diet that excludes meat, fish, and it can include dairy and eggs. Veganism is a little bit further. It's more strict. It excludes all animal products, including meat, fish, dairy, eggs.
I'm glad he's clarifying that because, yeah, there is a difference between veganism and vegetarian. We all know that, but a lot of times the Christian you're talking to, if you're doing vegan outreach, they're not going to know that. So I'm glad he's saying that. I hope his congregation, is that the word? The people that listen to him will grasp onto that and understand it.
And often honey. Vegans also typically avoid using any animal-derived products like leather and wool.
Exactly.
There are many reasons why people become vegans or vegetarians. Usually the number one reason is for health reasons and...
Oh! Well, that's a big no. Sorry, Vlad, it's no, the number one reason, he did say that was the number one reason, right?
There are many reasons why people become vegans or vegetarians. Usually the number one reason is for health reasons.
The number one reason to go vegan is ethical. It's, if people are going vegan for their health, that's not what veganism is. If they're going, I mean, they can go plant-based for their health, but if they're going, the reason I'm saying that is because if you're going vegan for your health, you can wear leather shoes and be healthy. You can wear cosmetics made from that were tested on animals and be healthy. You can go to circuses and rodeos and be healthy. The thing is, you can't do those if you're a vegan. So I see, this is where I think a moment ago, him and I were on the same page with understanding the difference between vegetarian and vegan, but I don't know if he's really grasping or applying what he implied, what he said earlier. Or maybe I'm just not getting it right. Are you guys catching this?
And nothing wrong with that, especially if the doctor recommends you to cut back or remove meat from your diet, or because you're allergic to certain dairy or other things. And in fact, there are studies that have been done to show that there's a lower risk of heart disease and high blood pressure, diabetes, and certain cancers of people who cut back on meat or who are vegetarians. Now, there's also other studies who have been done that one of the reasons why there's a lower incidence of chronic disease is not only because of vegetarian diet, but studies have suggested that vegetarians also tend to be more educated, more...
Did he just insult himself? He said, it is, I think he's saying people go on a plant-based diet because they're more intelligent. That's what it sounded like.
Physically active and be more health conscious than non-vegetarians. While there are benefits of vegetarian...
Yeah, it's like saying we're smarter because, and that people that eat meat tend to be not care about their health. Caring about your health, I think, is a Christian responsibility. Our body's a temple. Our job is to keep this body running in tip-top condition. I'm not saying you can't have a piece of junk food. I often say it like this. I do eat healthy. I eat healthy a lot. At home, it's kind of like this. At home, I would say 90% of my meals are healthy. When I go out to a party, if I'm going to a backyard barbecue, if I'm going just to dinner with the wife, as long as it's vegan, I don't care if it's junk, I'll eat it. I don't have a weight problem. I don't have a health problem because I live like this. I mean, if I eat junk food one night, it's not the end of the world. It's kind of like getting punched in the arm. I mean, my wife could come in and she could punch me in the arm and I'd be like, the heck did you do that for? Wouldn't bother me. One punch ain't gonna bother me. But if she did that 3 times a day, every single day of the week, my arm would turn black and blue. After a while, it would probably fall off. I'm not saying my wife is weak, but I'm saying that, your body can take a little bit of abuse, and sometimes a piece of vegan cheesecake is that abuse. I'm willing to take that punch in the arm, especially when I had, such healthy meals all week long. I can indulge a little. All right. I just went off on a little bit of side story there. Sorry.
And vegan diet, veganism does have nutritional concerns, deficiencies in protein, iron.
I had to hit pause. I really should hear him say what those deficiencies are, but he said protein. I've never met a vegan who has a protein problem. Plants have all the protein people need. I mean, think about it. The cows, where do they get their protein from? They don't eat steak. Cows don't eat bacon. They eat grass. All the protein we need is in plants. Some plants have more protein than others. Some have different amounts of protein. This plant might have this kind of protein where this plant only has this much, but then over here, this plant has this much more protein. So you end up, as long as you're eating a varied diet, you're getting all the protein you need. So why he would say that, I think he's just probably, this is a Joe Rogan kind of thing. He's probably just hearing people talk about it and not researching it. That would be my guess.
Vitamin B12, vitamin D3.
Vitamin D3, that's in the sunlight. Depending on where you live and the time of year. I live in Vegas. We get sun a lot. Okay, it gets hot out here in Vegas. But there are a few months a year we don't get sun. I take a vitamin D3. Okay, because it's free. It's in the sun. I mean, you get it every day, but in the wintertime, you're not going to get it. You could be in a place like Chicago, where I'm from originally. You don't get that much sun all, year round. You could be in like some other states where it's always cold. I mean, come on. A vitamin doesn't hurt you. And honestly, I'm 64. Our bodies, I don't know if it's just a guy thing. I think it's everybody, but I would say, I just because I know I'm a gym guy and I hit the gym 5 days a week, I know that my body doesn't absorb nutrients to sustain my heavy duty workouts like it did when I was 45. So an extra vitamin, why not? And as for B12, that used to be in the soil. I remember Dr. Michael Greger saying, in the old days, before everything was all cleaned and sanitized. We used to pull carrots out of the ground, knock the dirt off it, and just eat it with the dirt. That's where the B12 is. That's how we used to get bacteria. That's how we used to get the B12 bacteria. We don't have to eat it from animals. I mean, when I wrote my book, I even did a study where I found out that all these B12 companies that produce B12, the number one purchaser is the animal agriculture, because the B12 vitamin is fed to animals so that we can get the B12, because they just don't get it naturally from the sanitized soil that we exist in anymore. So he's missing the point there. Sorry, I don't want to get too much more into health. Could you please get into the Jesus-y stuff?
Omega-3 fatty acids are missing from plant-based diet. The second reason why people embrace veganism as a diet.
That's not true. Look it up. Just Google it. I'm not going to spend more time. Let's just go to some Jesus stuff, dude.
Is because of environmental impact, because they believe it reduces carbon footprint and resource use compared to meat production. But that is kind of ironic too, because if you look at the reality, is the corn, soybean, wheat, barley, rice, and pulses are staples of a vegan diet, and growing these crops where there would be typically grass destroys the topsoil and waterways, requires fossil fuels, and decreased level of biodiversity. So if you're becoming a vegan to help the environment, you're technically not helping the environment.
Well, I could spend the next 10 minutes talking about that. I'm going to definitely put some links into the description on this. I remember Debug Your Brain doing a series of videos. That's if you want to just look debug, D-E-B-U-G, your brain up on YouTube, and then maybe just follow that search with, statistics or whatever it is. You'll see, blows away. I think another one, Vegan for the Animals, or I'm trying to remember. I'm just going to put the links down there. Look at them. I'm not going to spend more time on doing this here. They cover all the information much better than I do.
The lesser reason why people become vegans is because they do not want to kill animals. I understand, I love animals, and I have a dog, and so I'm a pet person, okay? But I don't like mice and mosquitoes. So this idea that if I become a vegan, I'm not gonna kill.
I care about animals. I really don't care that. I mean, not that I don't care about cows and chickens or pigs, but it's like when I do my lectures and I go from, festival to festival, and I always get invited to sanctuaries and stuff. I've petted cows. Cows, fear me, top of the food chain. Canines. No snuggles, no snuggles. I've rolled in the dirt with chickens climbing all over me and done all that, and it was fun. Once, twice, but I'm not a guy who likes to get dirty. So it's not that I dislike them. I just I don't want to play with cows. I don't want to do that. But I happen to like different kinds of animals. He doesn't like, these creepy things. I love creepy things. He doesn't like mice or maybe insects. I love spiders. My wife loves spiders. I love snakes. My wife loves snakes. I mean, snakes are the reason I met my wife about back in 1991. So what is that? We're talking 35 years. Hokey smokes. But we got together because of snakes. So there are some animals that I just I'm fascinated by. But so I understand. When he says, a lot of people say, oh, you're a pet lover. And yeah, he just admitted he is a pet lover. I don't want to jump down people's throats for that, but I do think words mean things. So when you say you love animals, but you don't show your love for all animals, just because I don't like playing with pigs doesn't mean I don't doesn't mean I want them dead. I just don't want to get dirty on them. I wish them the best. Okay, the thing is, I don't think he feels that way about the other animals. He might feel that way about dogs, so which is why we always say, oh, you're a dog lover, you're a pet lover, you're not an animal lover. Because if he was an animal lover, he wouldn't pay to have them killed.
Any animals. I'm pretty sure if you are a vegan and that is your reason, you still probably kill mice, rats, and mosquitoes. And so you must understand that veganism actually probably kills more animals. Let
me try and find a Bible thingy in there. I'm thinking about Okay, this is not the Bible. This is the Talmud. The Talmud is some writings from some rabbis back in the olden days. And they make a statement about never putting an animal before a human. And I feel that way too. I just don't think that by putting humans above animals, it lowers animals to nothing of value other than a sandwich or how they can be of service to humans. No, I think God made them of much greater value than we give them. I just don't think it's so low that they're meaningless that we can just hang them upside down and stab them in the throat because we like the way they taste.
Yes. Eating pastured meat kills far less animals than vegan grain-based diet. Why? Because there are no tractor kills in grass-fed agriculture. Behind every vegan hot dog, there are dozens of fuzzy mice, turtles, snakes, and bugs that were destroyed by tractors and farm equipment, including birds and animals that would feed on them. Ted Nugent said that vegans are responsible for...
Well, all right. Your source is going to be Ted Nugent. I can't argue with that. All right, let's talk about crop death. Again, I'm going to put another link in the description. It'll just say crop death, and then it'll be a link to a video that I think will be informative. But for right now, Pastor Vlad, a vegan, eats vegetables. Animals will die in the harvesting of these vegetables because, like you said, combine tractors go over. Some combine tractors are, the blades are 12 inches off the ground, 24 inches of ground. They don't cause any harm. So don't think that every bit of food that's harvested digs up the dirt. Quite a few do. So there is a number of animals that die. But think about this, Pastor. Cows, chickens, and pigs that are in factory farms. 90 billion of them a year are being slaughtered. 90 billion. And those 90 billion animals that are being killed, for sure being killed, have to eat. Okay? You see? That's how much. So look at all this plant matter that needs to be grown in comparison to this. And also out of this, meat eaters, this is included for meat eaters, okay? Because meat eaters don't just, they eat vegetables too, you know. They eat salads, they eat apples and bananas. They like, grapes. So think about all the accidental crop death involved in this to feed these guys, plus the 90 billion deaths there compared to what is the accidental deaths here. This is purposeful death. This is accidental death. And from what I understand, the number of accidental death is a lot less than the purposeful death. Back. I think I made the point. Okay.
And plus, if you're a vegan and you're like, I'm a vegan because I do not want to hurt animals, when there's a mice in your house, you probably are not going to keep that mice running around.
It's not about that. It's about we can make a decision to get food from compassion and mercy or violence. Why are you picking that? It's not a matter of your house being infested with cockroaches or mice or rats or something that's going to hurt you. Like I said earlier, we can do things to keep ourselves safe, to survive. But this isn't what it's about. It's about we have choice. God gave us free will, Pastor. We can do so many things. Why would we choose violence when we don't have to?
You're going to kill it. You're going to say it spreads disease. And I do want to remind you that animals are not vegetarian.
Many animals are vegetarian. What did that mean?
Natural order of life. Lions kill zebras. Wolves kill deer. Sharks kill humans. Even chimpanzees hunt to kill and eat.
Chimpanzee. I like the way he said that. That was pretty cool. Okay. But Pastor Vlad, God made man in his image. And I'm going to agree with you. We are above the animals. Why would you compare us to animals? And using, as an activist, I'll use their language. I'll say, so why would we lower ourselves to the place of an animal when God made us so much greater? Why wouldn't we use that intelligence? Why wouldn't we use that moral responsibility to serve God and to show mercy and compassion? I always recommend using the word mercy and compassion mercy implies you have the right to kill an animal, but showing mercy gives the Christian mediator the ability to choose and makes them still feel, you're still attacking their use of animals, but you're putting it in their, making it their responsibility. See what I mean? So I like using the word mercy.
Other animals such as bush pigs, monkeys, and small antelopes. Yet eating meat for some of them is not necessary for their survival. So this whole idea that, animals just kind of need to be taken care of, and it is true. We need to take care of our animal kingdom. But even within the animal kingdom, there's an order of prey and predator. And so we cannot avoid that. So overall, there's nothing wrong with not eating meat, especially if you have some health restrictions. Now let's move to the second thing, where veganism can lead to a disorder, or it could be a sign of disorder.
All right, I'm going to pick it up from here. He talked a lot about an eating disorder and connecting that to veganism. I'm not here for that. I'm here for the ethical part, and he's going to get into it right about here. So let's just pick it up.
Of bomb victims. Veganism comes across as a loving and tight community that offers friendship, belonging, and a firm sense of identity.
So does your church, Pastor Vlad. If veganism is a toxic woke cult, like it says in the title up there, the same activities that we are doing when it says we offer friendship, belonging, and a firm sense of identity, that's what the church does. But it's not bad. If a cult does it, that doesn't automatically, cults can do good things. There's a lot of cults out there that are, whose goal is just to be loving and compassionate and kind. It could be misguided, but that's what they're trying to do. Some of them, can't speak for all of them. I'm sure some of them are, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in their head. But showing friendship and belonging and a firm sense of identity is important when you first find your faith in Jesus, because you could be surrounded by people who don't share that faith. So you go to a church, and that church gives you a place of belonging because you're around people of a like mind. That sometimes is needed. Just like when you go vegan, you find that you will start getting resistance from people who are not. When you say, I don't want to eat anything made from animal abuse, people around you, your teachers, your friends, your pastors, your children, your spouses, your husbands, your wives, they will then realize they are choosing to eat food that is made from animal abuse, and they will feel attacked. And in return get defensive and start to attack you, saying you're part of a woke, toxic cult. So we vegans, we tend to be tight and offer community because we all need each other. It can be very lonely. Vegans are only, less than 2% of the population? We need the strength to help us get through in a world that is given into sin. Pastor Vlad, you know that in Genesis chapter 1, God made us vegan. You admitted that at the beginning of your video. In Genesis chapter 3, sin entered the world, and people started killing and eating animals. They started killing each other and eating animals. Why would we give in to a sinful way? Why wouldn't we just go back to the way God originally wanted us to? But because we are living in a world that's given into this, everybody around us is doing this evil, violent activity towards animals. So we find our tribe. And within that tribe, what's really amazing is we're not a cult because we don't have a leader. We don't have a book that we follow. We don't have a leader that gave us rules and regulations to stay within, or else we're kicked out. We don't have to give money to any organization. We don't have any, ceremonies, unless maybe you consider tree hugging a ceremony. What I'm saying is we don't have any of those toxic things that cults have. we do have that tribe mentality, that group mentality, but that's no different from Republicans or Democrats who hang around with Democrats, or Republicans who hang around with Republicans. You find your tribe because you enjoy being around people of a like mind. I don't think that's toxic at all. Speaking of that, I just said something political, which I rarely do. But think about it. Out of all the vegans, I don't know anybody's like, oh, you're this political party or you're that. We don't care. As long as you're vegan, come party with us.
As long as you play by the rules, they have your back. But if you begin to question them or have doubts, they will turn against you.
Someone comes to your church and says, well, I was a wife beater. Then I found Jesus and I stopped, but I want to go back to beating my wife. I couldn't because she could beat the heck out of me. But would the church say, oh, well, that's okay? No, the church would say, get 2 or more witnesses and come to him and say, you need to stop this activity.
Now, the Bible does talk about that deceiving spirits and doctrine of demons in the last days will tell people not to eat certain things. Now, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 says this, now the Spirit expressly says that in the last days or in the latter days, some will depart from faith, giving heed to the deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. It's important. Last days, the Holy Spirit says, people will depart from faith. So that's the foundation of everything. Then there will be deceiving spirits, and then there will be doctrines of demons. So kind of layer upon layer. Now, what we see is in verse 3 of that chapter, Paul begins to tell us some of these doctrines that these demons will be pushing.
Okay, before we get into those doctrines of demons, I'm glad we're going there finally. Remember, it says people will leave the faith. What is the faith? Paul is talking about people who believed in Jesus for salvation. Sorry, atheists, this is going to be Bible time. But you got to know the groundworks of this if you're going to defend veganism or defend against this verse's use to fight veganism. I can't talk. I should have more tea. These people who depart from the faith, to depart from the faith, you had to be in the faith. If you were in the faith, you had faith that Jesus Christ was your sole reason for salvation. Good works meant nothing. Your good works were like filthy rags before God. Nothing you can do. Salvation is a free gift from God. Free gift. Of course, it's free and gift are the same word. I mean, obviously, if it's a gift, it's free. But it's a free gift from God that you get just by putting your faith in Jesus Christ. That's what they believed. Now, some of those people will depart from that. They're going to say, yeah, okay, but we think that's not right. We think you should abstain from marriage. We think you should abstain from certain foods. Now, unfortunately, in some versions of the Bible, abstaining from foods will be translated abstaining from meats. There are times when the word meat just means any food in general. And what these people who were abstaining, these ascetics, these Gnostics, these groups of people, they were saying that to serve God, you can't just put your faith in Jesus. You can't give in to all these physical pleasures. So you got to abstain from marriage. Now remember back in Genesis chapter 1, God said, be fruitful and multiply. That was enjoy marriage, enjoy the sex that you can have in marriage and all that. Okay, they're saying, no, you shouldn't enjoy fleshly pleasures. God's saying, I gave you fruits and vegetables, you can eat them. They're saying, no, you shouldn't enjoy the good food. That's why it says abstain from foods and from marriage, not just foods. It wasn't a vegan argument that they were making at the time, saying meat is wrong. They're saying that if you abstain from these foods, you'll be closer to God. And the Apostle Paul saying, no, you left the faith. This is a doctrine of demons that you have to do anything. Jesus did it all. You think he took that beating and died on the cross for nothing? He died for everything. For you to say, I have to do any of this stuff, you're saying, Jesus, what you did on the cross is not enough. You see, that's the doctrine of demons right there. Saying, Jesus, you didn't do enough to save me. I'm going to abstain from these things to save myself. See, that's the doctrine of demons.
On people in the last days, they will be forbidding to marry. They will command to abstain from foods which God created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth.
Reminder, what did God create? What foods God created to be received with thanksgiving? The foods God created for us, Genesis 1:29 and 1:30. No, not 1:30, that was for the animals. Genesis 1:29, plants, vegetables.
Ouch. So forced vegetarianism and
that had nothing to, do you see what he did? So saying abstaining from foods is not forced vegetarianism. It's leaving salvation by Christ and saying I'm getting salvation by my works, by my self-sacrifice of these pleasures that God you originally gave me back in Genesis chapter 1. He's making it about veganism. It has nothing to do with that. And I'm surprised that a pastor doesn't know that. If a blonde ball of fluff like me in Las Vegas who does nothing but juggle and card tricks for a living can figure this out, why can't a man who's probably studied the Bible, graduated seminary, he probably knows more about Bible stuff than I could ever know. I just think he's so blinded by his desire to eat dead animals because it's addicting. Oh, it's addicting. I'm telling you.
veganism is the
Am I sounding mad? That was mad, wasn't it? No, I think it's frustration.
mark of the last days. Now, how does this look like? Veganism is the ultimate healthy diet. You become a superior.
Veganism is not a diet. Veganism is an ethical lifestyle, which is totally compatible with Christianity because it shows compassion and mercy when you can. I'm just going to keep throwing that in if he keeps bringing up that same diet thing.
Quality of a person if you abstain from meat. Veganism is necessary for spiritual advancement.
No, veganism has nothing to do. Veganism is an ethical lifestyle. Your spiritual advancement relies 100% on Jesus Christ. This is what Christians believe. Again, if you're an atheist activist, this is why you need to know this stuff, because it's going to help you make the argument for veganism. He is trying to make veganism into something it's not, because then it's I think the fallacy is called setting up a straw man, where he's setting up this idea of what veganism is, but it's a straw man which is very easy to knock down. That's not what veganism is. At least that's not what they're talking about in First Timothy.
There are promises of heightened spiritual awareness. Veganism that will...
See, that part is right, because these ascetics, these Gnostics who left the faith, they're saying, yeah, you'll get spiritually better if you do this. No! And that's not what veganism believes, okay? That's what the Gnostics believe. But he's applying veganism to what the Gnostics believe, and it's not right.
Begin to embrace worship of nature. Like a vegan demon Instagram says, in plants we trust.
Dang it! Why didn't he cover my page? Why didn't he pull me up? I would have loved that.
Veganism will teach it's wrong to eat animal meat. Veganism will begin to devalue human life to that of animals.
No. We're not devaluing human life to that of animals. It's just making it so animals mean more than just a sandwich.
And animals become on an equal stature with humans. Vegetarianism.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I made a video about it. I hope I can link that in here. I'm not, because I'm just going to tell you about it. It's not that we're equal. I mean, I think there's many places in the Bible that show that we are. Like, for example, when God breathed the breath of life into humans, that same breath of life, that nephesh, that was given to humans was given to animals also. That word nephesh is used over 400 times in the Bible. Not every time, but many times it shows an equality of animals and humans when it's talked about. But I don't want to make that the argument. If you're an activist and you're talking to a Christian, I would use the term human exceptionalism. Us Christians will understand that from Genesis, that humans were made above the animals. But what does that exceptionalism mean? Think of it like this. You're driving home in your car. Newscaster comes on the radio and says there was a shooting at the local school. It's the school your son goes to. And you hear that 3 kids were shot. Do you sit there and pray, God, please let my son be one of the kids that were shot so the other kids don't? No, you pray that your son is alive. Why? Because your son is exceptionally made to you. He is your child. It's not, now when you pray, you're like saying those other kids aren't worth as much. But those kids are worth that much to their parents. Just like your kid is worth that much to you. God looks at us the same way, okay? We are his children. The animals, he looks at them as if, I don't want to say other other people's children. But do you get the idea? It's not that they are not as important. I mean, when you make that prayer that your son lives, you're not wanting the other kids to die. That's not even on your radar. You just want your son, who you love and you have a relationship with, to survive. This means a lot to you. That's your son, your image, your life. You're not praying because you want the other kids dead. When God says he made humans above the animals, it's not that the animals are unimportant. They're as important as your son to somebody, and that somebody is God. They're that important to God. See, that's how you can use human exceptionalism. It can be applied in there. Keep that in your mind when you're trying to make the argument with Christian mediators.
Veganism has ancient roots in both philosophy and religion, like Hinduism and Buddhism, who have been promoting vegetarian diets. Hinduism
and Buddhism teach a lot more than vegetarian diets. They teach many good things that are 100% compatible with Christianity. I don't agree with them on many things, but just because they teach veganism doesn't make it wrong. Just because I disagree. If a devil worshiper talks about veganism, it doesn't invalidate veganism. I think they're wrong for worshiping the devil. I'm a Christian. Of course I'm going to think that. But that doesn't mean if veganism wrong, but if an evil person, let's say, does create a piece of art, does that make the piece of art bad because he's evil? No, art is art. Just, if you didn't know he made it, it could be just a beautiful painting. You follow? So just because Buddhism or a religion, some other non-Christian religion teaches veganism, it doesn't make veganism bad. Veganism can stand on its own ethic.
Buddhism and certain New Age religions all embrace vegetarianism. Cultures that are heavily influenced by demonic religious thought.
I don't think they're teaching it because they're demon possessed. I mean, I'm teaching veganism. Oh, you know what? Vlad, if you're watching, you probably think I'm possessed, don't you?
Not just Hindus in India embrace vegetarianism. If you talk to a lot of New Agers, you will see there was a huge focus on making sure that they don't eat meat. And so we have to be very careful. For those of you who are just kind of like, hey, I don't want to eat meat, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But when you begin to embrace the movement and begin to embrace the ideology of this, that worships nature, that sees you as more spiritual because you don't eat meat, or that somehow...
Well, I don't know vegans that worship nature. They enjoy nature. I don't know if they go out into the forest and get on their knees and say, oh, thank you, or sit in a patch of sunflowers. I just don't see them worshiping.
Somehow human life is on the same level as the life of animals, and that somehow not eating meat is this.
Once again, he brought up the equal thing. I can think of, like in Genesis chapter 9, God made covenants with animals 5 times. The same covenants he made with humans, showing inequality, not making them equal, but showing equality. I can show, like I said, over 400 times the word nephesh is used to describe humans and animals, and many times it's equal. There's so many places in the Bible like that. Sorry, atheists, I know I'm shooting out some Bible references left and right, and you might have to look them up later, but you're dealing with Christians like him who believe it's okay to eat meat, and if you want to knock us down, this is important stuff to learn. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to accept it and live that lifestyle, but the more you learn about it, the better equipped you are. It's like
a healthy diet that makes you a superior person. That, my friend, is deception, and that is the doctrine.
If you think your diet makes you superior, then yeah, I agree with you. I think it is deception. But I don't think my diet makes me a better person. I think my dietary choices are better than someone who chooses food that comes from animal abuse. And I don't know why anybody would be upset from that. I mean, if I walked down the street and said, hey, I'm going to eat a food product made from animal abuse or a food product that's not, what do you think I should do? I think everybody go, well, eat the one that's not, until they realize what they're saying. And I think, you know who does a great job of that? Cliff Grant. If you ever watch any of his YouTube videos, I highly recommend him. Not for the religious part, because I know that's not his trip, but he does call people out on that. But I think our diet is superior. I don't think having that diet makes me superior. It's like, I think us Christians, we're called to walk a line. Okay? Do not lie, do not cheat, do not steal, do not covet, do not bear false witness. The 10 commandments. It's like, that's our base. We should just do that. And that doesn't make us better. It doesn't make us worse. That's just our starting point. Now, if we choose to lie, we're lowering ourselves. That's not making the Christian who's just walking the line better than you. It's you choosing to lower yourself when you lie, when you steal, when you commit adultery, when you do all these bad things. It's you lowering yourself. Okay, we're not elevating ourselves. I don't think I'm better than you. It's you saying, I want to eat food made from the abuse and torture and sexual molestation of animals, so I'm going to lower myself to this level. It's not a superiority thing. He's treating it like vegans think we're superior.
Of demons. Now, let's wrap this up. What does the Bible say about eating meat?
Please tell me.
Vegetarianism, veganism is a diet for some, for health reasons and other reasons. And for some people, it could become a compulsive, obsessive problem, disorder.
Is it a compulsive, obsessive disorder? Some people might say it is about me. And if you're an animal rights activist, they might say it's about you. I offer this. The Bible, in the Bible, the Apostle Paul, in Corinthians and in Ephesians, made some statements that might come to your defense. If the Christian says, well, all you are is this, all you are is this vegan preacher guy, I would say, the Apostle Paul made this example, is, does the eye have the same function as the foot? Or does the hand have the same function as the ear? Or whatever, I forget the exact term. And then in Ephesians, he says some people are pastors, some are prophets, some have the gift of caring, some people. In other words, I am just using what God made me. God may have made me just a hand where someone else is a foot and someone else is an eye. Or something. And that hand is to talk about veganism. I am just doing what God's called me to do. I'm not obsessed. Now, maybe God has called somebody to do the functions of both a hand and a foot and an eye. Good for them. I'm not that smart. I'm lucky I can do one thing at a time, and I'm lucky if that's pushing it. I'm not that smart. So, I would use that as a defense for yourself. If you're talking to a Christian who thinks that you're just, just tunnel visioned on veganism. No, I'm doing what God wants me to do, and God wants me to do just this one thing right now. I will. But my life is full. I mean, talk to me about. We'll go on the tattoo thing. Talk here. You want to here? Anybody recognize that tattoo? Hey, we're the monkeys. Yep. Talk to me about the monkeys. I will talk to you about the monkeys all day long. Just like I'll talk about the people. The Bible. Okay. So I don't have just one subject that I talk about. No. Oh gosh. People.
And it could become a demonic doctrine that drives people. What does the Bible say about eating meat? Now, first of all, we see that God's original intent is to eat what comes from the ground. Genesis 1:29, and God said, see, I have given you herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food.
I don't know what's coming next, but I can just hear Genesis chapter 9 coming up. What do you think?
Now, after the flood, God gave humanity permission to eat meat.
Called it!
And has never revoked this permission.
Wait, let's hear him say it.
Genesis 9 verses 2 and 3 says, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth, and every bird of the air, and on all that moves on the earth, and on all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hand. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs.
I just did a video on that, about every moving thing. Okay, Genesis 9, verse 2 and 3. Garden of Eden, no death, no sin. Genesis chapter 3, sin enters the world. Genesis 4, 5, and 6. 6, everything is so screwed up that God says, I'm going to flood the world. I'm going to kill everything and start all over with Noah. Noah gets off the boat, And God says, I will now allow you to eat the moving things. The moving things in Hebrew, moving things or creeping things, same word, is remes, R-E-M-E-S, and that means bugs. God never gave permission to eat cows, chickens, or pigs. Some people say that God gave them permission for that because there was no food available and Noah had to have something. I don't necessarily hold to that. I mean, if Noah was on a boat for that long of a time, and it was longer than 40 days and 40 nights, that's the common thing. But he stayed on the boat long after that before he actually exited. They were growing food on that boat to feed everything. So I don't go for that. And if God, God rained manna down from heaven to feed the Israelites on their exodus from captivity, he could have done it again for Noah. But I think they were making a point there. And I don't want to go into that now because I don't think that's necessary. What I want you to pay attention to is look at the verbiage used in this. Oh, I use the word verbiage. That's a fancy word. I'm impressed with myself sometimes. But let's listen to this.
It says, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of...
The fear and the dread of you will be on every beast of the earth. Now, let's just think about what that means. Fear and dread. Genesis chapter 6, fear and dread of animals. Go back here, Genesis chapter 2, when God said it's not good for man to be alone, he created animals. He created animals for companionship, to cure this loneliness. Do you get that? They weren't created for food. Remember, this is still in the Garden of Eden. There is no death. Adam was not eating animals. There was no death into human beings until Genesis chapter 3. And there was no permission to eat anything that was alive over here until where he says Genesis chapter 9. So here, these animals, and what did Adam do when God said, it's not good for man to be alone. Here's the animals. He brought them to Adam to name them. Adam could hang out with the most ferocious lion and scruff it on the head and go, here, kitty, kitty. He could hang out with the biggest elephant or even the littlest, tiniest mouse that this guy is all afraid of. This is how close Adam was with the animals. Now the animals will have fear and dread. Does that sound like eating them was a positive thing? That was a good thing? We've gone from a loving, compassionate man-pet relationship kind of thing to where, again, you could snuggle with a cheetah if you wanted to? Okay. How wonderful would that have been to be able to go up to an alligator and say, hey, bud. That would be so cool. And then all of that was taken away because sin entered the world. This is not a positive verse. This is not, meat eaters use this all the time. It's like, this is a horrible thing to have happen.
The earth, and every bird of the air, and on all that moves on the earth, and on all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hand. Every moving thing, R-E-M-E-S, Google it, in Hebrew, creeping things that swarm low to the ground. It might be some reptiles like snakes or lizards, but it's bugs. Lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. In the Old Testament law, the nation of Israel was commanded not to eat certain foods, but there was never a command against eating meat.
Can you see what I said earlier about Leviticus, where you could eat certain animals? When you're told you can only eat this, when you were always eating this, is that a positive thing? It's a restriction. When you hear Genesis chapter 9, which he just went over, and you heard that you've gone from being able to snuggle with a tiger to animals having fear and dread of you, whether it's the birds in the air, the fish in the sea, they're going to be afraid of you now. Does any of that sound like God's going, yes, I want you to kill and eat animals? Do you see how it all comes together? Oh, I hope you activists are grasping this, because this is exciting to me. Hearing, I know it's kind of weird hearing laws about how to kill animals is actually stopping you from killing animals. And the big thing about that is when he said, God told us we could eat some animals. If you go back to the beginning of Leviticus, and remember, he's talking about Leviticus in the middle. Oh, what is there? 27 chapters in Leviticus? Yeah. And in one, it says only if you want to. It doesn't say it's a requirement. It's only if.
Leviticus chapter 11 verses 1 through 47 gives us the breakdown of what Israel wasn't allowed to eat. Now that's what Israel was commanded not to eat. But we don't see them not being allowed to eat meat at all. God himself gives animal meat to Israelites in the wilderness, Exodus 16. God commended animal sacrifices. So God who...
You might want to consider that during the Exodus, when they ate that and he gave them, they choked on it and died from it. That doesn't sound like God was saying, yeah, I want you to eat animals. He's saying, I'll give you, he even says it like this, you'll eat so much that it'll come out your nose. And then he killed them all because of their gluttony. Read the whole story. Don't just take one little verse. Don't cherry pick here, Plaster. I did it again. I said plaster.
Created animals, who loves animals, who will have animals in his kingdom, commanded animal sacrifice. Bulls, sheep, goats, doves were killed for sacrifice.
Those weren't commands, they were regulations. Now, if you really want to get into it, I'm not going to do it here. I recommend Christspiracy, the documentary. It gives you some great information on how to argue this. I don't always find that I have, like right now, I've spent I don't know how many minutes on this one. It's been a long time. But I spent a lot of time here just trying to get this across. A documentary, to sit down and watch it, you have time to really understand all the nuances and all the layers that it takes. But it'll really allow you to defend veganism. Unfortunately, in hit and run street activism, you may not always have the kind of time like I have now, like a documentary like that has. But I think that's a great one because they do make a great argument that maybe that isn't exactly the way it was said, because in the book of Jeremiah, it says we have the lying pens of the scribes and the Pharisees. In other words, some of this could actually be a lie. Very interesting study. I'm not going to say that because I don't think it's necessary. I think I want to argue from within the context of what the Christian already believes. But I really enjoyed Christspiracy, and I love having discussions about that subject with some other vegan pastor friends of mine, because it's rare that I find some people who really are just all Bible geeky like me and get to go into deep study like that.
Jesus was not a vegetarian. Bible records Jesus
doesn't have to be. Like I said, veganism is about as far as practical. Now, like I just said, Christspiracy and some other pastors and some other vegan teachers might try to prove that Jesus is. I think he was, but I'm not going to try and prove it from scripture. My better argument is just saying he may have had to. Because like I said, I think I said earlier in this video, that what was available in the first century Palestine when Jesus was hanging out isn't available today. We have transportation, we have refrigeration, we have airplanes, we have trucks, we have grocery stores, we have access to food that doesn't require the death of animals. They may not have had that in the first century. Different story, different circumstance. Oh, phooey, did I just move that?
Jesus eating meat. The Bible records Jesus eating fish and lamb.
It doesn't record that. Look into those verses. I have videos on each one of those. I would also suggest going to Swords to Plowshares. Pastor Craig Wesco, he has sermons on each one of those topics. I have some. If you don't like mine, I recommend Craig. That's a great resource. And some of that, the fishing ones, check out Christspiracy and you'll find out more about those. I think I've already addressed the demonic thing on here, and that's kind of what I was hoping we could deal with. I don't know where else he's going to, and man, I'm trying to make these shorter. Everybody's like, Steve, you make these so long, but I'm just going off them. Now I'm blabbing.
Miraculously fed the crowds fish and bread. A strange thing to do if he was a vegetarian.
It says Jesus talks about it twice when he says he fed them, and he says he only fed them bread. Again, more fun stuff.
Jesus declared all foods, including all kinds of meat, to be clean. Jesus
In Mark 7:19, which was just up there, when Jesus never said declaring all foods clean, notice that is in parentheses or brackets. That means it was inserted by the translator for understanding. It was just assumed into there. That doesn't mean Jesus said it.
after resurrection, in his glorified body, ate broiled fish.
That verse that he just had up, Luke 24, Jesus appears after his execution, after he's crucified, he appears in a locked room, and they think he's a ghost. And he's saying, no, I'm flesh and blood. And they're sitting there, the disciples, eating what says, according to the scriptures, they had fish and honeycomb. It doesn't say that's all they had to eat, but that's just reporting a couple items. Like if I said, oh, I had a steak dinner last night. Well, first off, nobody would believe that because they know I wouldn't have that. But just for example, I had a steak dinner and I said, well, here, have some. And I go, I made you a plate. What would be on a plate? You'd see steak, you'd see mashed potatoes, you might see some green beans. Okay, just because I said I had a steak dinner, it doesn't, it's other foods could be understood in there. Not saying that's the case, but I'm saying please take that into consideration. But when Jesus said, what are you guys eating? And they said, well, we have fish and honeycomb. He said, give it to me. I'll eat it, because ghosts cannot eat. He wasn't eating that to lay down a formula for all time. He was giving evidence that he is flesh and blood and he can eat, and that he's not just a ghost, that he is the risen Christ. Big deal. Big difference from what we're doing here when we go to a drive-thru.
Now, in the book of Acts, we see Peter was given a vision of animals and a command to kill and eat.
Peter, in Acts chapter 10, he's listing verses 9 through 16, read down to the end of the chapter where Peter says, I had a vision. The same vision he thinks Peter got permission to eat. Peter says, I now know that Gentiles are the same as Jews. In other words, salvation is available not just to the Jewish people, but to the Gentiles, the non-Jewish people. At that time, there was a big separation between the two. And Acts chapter 10, Peter, the guy who got the vision, says it was about making humans equal. The animals were just the vehicle in which this message was being relayed to him. Read it in Acts chapter 10, and then read it into chapter 11, because Peter explains it twice. Obviously, he doesn't want to talk about those.
Acts chapter 10, verses 9 through 16. This vision is often translated as signifying the removal of the dietary restrictions of the Mosaic law and the acceptance of Gentiles into the Christian community.
The acceptance of Gentiles into the community, yes. But I don't know where he said it's doing away with the Mosaic law. It's not written in there. At least I didn't see it. I'm going to go back and look at it, but just because he's really cherry picking here, I'm doubtful.
Now, Paul tells us that we should not force our convictions about this issue on other people or judge them by what they eat or what they don't eat. Now, I'm going to quickly go through these verses, so just kind of pay attention to them.
I'll
this
try.
Is Romans chapter 14. You can read the whole chapter. For one who believes, he may eat all things, but he who is weak eats only vegetables. Now,
Romans chapter 14, the weak in Romans chapter 14 were the people who worried about being defiled because they ate meat sacrificed to idols. And Paul's entire thing about Romans chapter 14 is don't dispute over these matters. Remember how he said Gentiles and Jews are now able to be together? Paul's dealing with that because we have these different people from different backgrounds who are like, we're in this newfound faith, this new Christianity thing, and we think you can't eat these meats, and we think you can. Well, we're strong because we know we can. Well, we're weak because we're just eating vegetables because those were not offered to idols. You see, it's a whole different thing. It's what the food represented, not that it was permission to eat certain meats or that vegans are weak. This was not a vegan issue in any sense.
I don't think Paul is telling everybody who does not eat meat is weak, but that's what the Bible says. He who is weak eats vegetables. Come on, somebody. I'm not weak. I'm not going to eat only vegetables. Now, Romans chapter 14, verse 3. Let not him who eats despise him who does not eat. We're talking about meat. Let not him who does not eat judge him who eats, for God has received him. That means if you don't...
Let me hear what he says first.
Eat meat. Don't judge me for eating meat. And if I eat meat, I don't judge you for not eating meat if this is your health reason or your dietary restrictions. But remember, we're not just dealing with dietary restrictions here today. We're dealing with some doctrines and some.
It's what the meat represented. He's saying, if you people are strong enough to know that you can eat food sacrificed to idols, because these Christians are like, these idols don't even exist. They're just things carved in wood and stone. You can eat the meat that was offered to them because it doesn't mean anything. These people are like, no, if you eat that meat, you're joining, you're aligning with those idols. And they're like, these idols don't exist. They're strong in the faith. They knew that Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father but by him. And they know that that's a first quote. I keep forgetting that a lot of you guys aren't Bible people. But they know that if you eat this, doesn't make you any better or worse before God, where they're like, well, but what if it does? And he's saying, you know what, don't argue about it. These new converts, they're going to get to be strong later. Right now, just let them eat the vegetables that were not offered to the idols. Don't give them a hard time. They'll grow in their spirituality, okay? But it didn't make them better or worse in God's eyes. It wasn't a vegan versus meat eater thing, which is what he is implying.
Demonic agendas as well as with this whole.
I mean, do you really think it was a bunch of vegans running around, talking to the Apostle Paul saying, oh, I don't think you should eat that?
Bullshit. In the coming kingdom of Jesus, Isaiah 11:6-9 indicates the relationship between the predator and the prey will no longer be operative. In eternity, instead of killing other animals, the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and no further blood will be shed. So, as Christians, based on what the Bible teaches us, how should we look at this issue?
Based on what the Bible teaches me, if I have a choice of food that comes from violence or food that comes from mercy, I'm a Christian. I need to choose mercy.
We should understand that while we are stewards of God's creation,
God gave us stewardship, requirements, dominion, right after he created everything. Why do we think that right after God created everything, we should use that stewardship, this dominion, to destroy the things he gave life to? Doesn't make sense.
We are not to worship nature.
Vegans aren't worshiping nature. Hopefully you activists I'm giving you lines that you can use. I hope that, or at least giving you things that once it gets in your head, when you talk to us Christians, you'll be able to say, I remember this, and you'll be able to formulate your own ways of doing it.
We also should understand that animals do not have the fundamental right to life that human beings do. But they do have.
I don't know what verse he would use to support that. Because, I can see in the Bible where God says, if you see your enemy with a donkey and the donkey is carrying a heavy load and he falls down, and it's so heavy that he falls down, you're to help the donkey, even if it belongs to your enemy. I see God in the 10 Commandments when he orders the Sabbath to give an equal day of rest to the animals, just like you would to your son or your daughter. There's so many places of equality, so many places of not equality, but why would you, as a pastor, pick the ones that would allow you to kill them? Why are you looking for ways to justify violence? See what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
Interests in being protected from needless suffering.
Okay, animals need to be protected from needless suffering. I agree with them. What makes it needless is that there is no need in the human body to ever eat animal products. All the major dietitians, medical practitioners, nurses, everywhere, all agree that there is zero need for animal products in the human diet. And, it's anecdotal for me to say me, but I mean, I haven't had anything since 2008. I'm crazy healthy. Okay? I got some aches and pains, but, juggling bowling balls and chainsaws for 30 years, 40 years will wear down a body, anybody, even if you do eat meat. So I'm a little bit sore here and there, but generally, for a guy in 64 going on 65 this summer, I'm good. Boy, I said that several times this video. It's just really been probably on my mind that I'm getting old.
And animal cruelty is not accepted for us as
Exactly. So, since there's no need for us to eat animal products, all eating animals is unnecessary abuse. If it's not needed, it's not needed.
take care of the environment as God's creation. We must understand Jesus nor biblical writers never argued for vegetarianism or veganism, even though that was before Adam fell, and that is what most likely going to happen after Jesus restores his kingdom. Jesus did not argue for that eating pattern. The Bible does not command us to eat meat, nor does it prohibit us.
But wouldn't common sense tell you that if that's God's desire for us in Eden, where he said it's perfect, and in heaven, where it's perfect, why would we give in to an activity that is the result of sin? It was only allowed once sin entered the world.
But it is a doctrine of demons.
He did call veganism a doctrine of demons. Veganism is seeking, here I go again, to avoid as far as you possibly can the exploitation of animals. I don't want to cause pain and suffering to animals when I don't have to. I don't need to eat them. I don't need to wear them. I don't need to be entertained by their suffering. He considers that a doctrine of demons. Why is it two Christians, we read the same Bible, he finds justification for pain and suffering, but to show compassion is a doctrine of demons?
That departs from God. The last
Compassion, my desire to be compassionate towards God's creation, is departure from God?
days worships nature.
Vegans don't worship nature. I'm going to guess some of them do, but I can't say everybody because I don't know every vegan. but worshiping nature, I mean, we enjoy nature, but so do a lot of meat eaters. And I know a lot of meat eaters that probably, isn't that like a Wiccan thing? Witches, don't they do that? Don't they? I don't know that much about that religion, so I shouldn't speak out of turn, but if anybody knows, mention it to me.
Demonizes eating meat.
We don't demonize eating meat. We demonize, I don't want to say demonize. We criticize the choice of food that comes from animal abuse when there's so many other options available.
Advocates for vegetarianism as some superior ultimate diet.
It's not a superior ultimate diet because it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle that seeks to avoid the unnecessary suffering of sentient beings. Why isn't that a Christian value to you, Pastor?
That enhances your spirituality. So it
Never said being vegan enhances my spirituality. My closeness to God, my salvation, everything I have is a result of what Jesus Christ achieved for me. It doesn't matter what I eat or what I do. I rely solely, but for a Christian to attack veganism, he's going to try and make it about that. Activists, don't let that happen. If you're a Christian activist, remember, your salvation is, as I said earlier, the way, the truth, and life. Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. No man comes to the Father but through him. That is what you believe. As an atheist, you don't even have to make this argument, I guess. You know, if a Christian says that to you, you can say, I don't worship nature. I don't worship anything. I just don't want to hurt stuff. Why is it you think the Bible allows you to hurt stuff when you don't have to? That would be the argument I would use against what he just said.
Is veganism demonic? There's nothing wrong with not eating meat. But if you embrace worshiping nature, departing from God, and you demonize eating meat, and you advocate for this diet as some ultra spiritual way to enhance your spirituality, that is.
Okay, you're right. If you try to use it as some kind of spirituality, I think now that I'm seeing this video end, it seems like in the last few sentences or last few seconds here, he was trying to turn veganism into a religion. My first thought is, I have a lot of vegan friends, more so than most people do. And I feel very blessed for that. But I'm going to say 90% of the vegans I know are atheists, okay? Atheism is huge in the vegan movement. And vegans are not... Veganism is not a religion. So, all right, well, that was fun. Is this the end of him?
Demonic. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I hope this brought some clarity and understanding. Let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this? Do you eat meat?
Well, I don't need to put it in the comments because I just made a whole video about it. But maybe somebody will link my video to him and he'll go, he's mad at me. It's just interesting that a pastor who is educated on these scriptures will use just pieces of them to support violence, when the entire context of that verse that comes from reading the entire chapter, or maybe even the entire book, will lead you to a vegan understanding. And even if you couldn't prove that Jesus was vegan, even if you couldn't prove some of the things I said, why wouldn't you at least look in the direction of being compassionate when you can, being merciful when you can? Isn't that what Jesus would have wanted us to do? Ah, gosh. I just ran off. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you activists got some information you could use. And I am going to go have some dinner now. And that's it. I think I've done it. I'm kind of just... It just bothers me sometimes. I know his congregation is sitting there going, yeah, you sure told them vegans off. And they're just in the dark too. Oh well. Thank you for watching. My prayer for you all is peace and love and everything groovy in your life. Thank you for watching.